You're here because you want to learn about the scorecard. My name is Charlie.rhea. I'm an EOS implementer. This is our leadership development time. Let's do this. All right, so objectives for today is number one is just to be open and honest. Be open to learning something new and be honest with yourself. Number two is I want to help you guys develop, empower, and transform your leadership. And so I'm going to be teaching about the scorecard so you can develop it, develop that skill of learning what it is. And then ultimately, I want to empower you to have transformational leadership. The agenda for today, we're going to be doing the following. So, what is the EOS scorecard? Where does it fit in terms of EOS, okay, the model, and looking at some different things there. So, where does the scorecard fit? Why is it important? How do you create a great scorecard? That's going to be something that we're going to look at here at the end. And then how do you actually use it? It does you no good to have a scorecard if you're not using it. Lastly, I'll give you guys some additional resources here to be able to take some next steps. Okay, so what is a scorecard? Well, it's a way to measure activity in order to predict results. If you work out every day and you drink lots of water and you're healthy and you eat the right foods and you get 8 hours of sleep, you're probably going to live longer. You're probably going to feel better. You're going to have more energy. The scorecard is a way to measure activity that you do on a weekly or daily basis in order to predict future results. Here's another way to say it. It's a predicting tool. The scorecard is a tool that we use with all our clients at EOS to be able to track information. Okay, it's used to drive accountability. That's what you're trying to create. And so start with predicting key measurables and then tracking those measurables. Now, a measurable simply is just a weekly activity. So think about a specific daily or weekly activity that you can do. And if you were to track it day in and day out, week after week, it would show you a pattern, a trend. Most likely, you're going to get this result. If you reach out proactively to 5 customers every single day, proactive phone calls, you probably will have an opportunity to get a referral. And so that would be something that maybe you would want to track. Typically, it's set up in a weekly format and it's going to lay out a 13-week look back, aka 90 days. So, one of the things that we teach in EOS is the 90-day world. And so, a scorecard really is a way for you to track all the activities in between those 90-day kind of markers. You have 90 days of tracking activities. The main purpose of this is it's going to allow you to be able to recognize, man, we're on track. Everything's locked in and locked and loaded. We are headed in the right direction as a company. And it also is going to allow you to course correct when you're off track. And so the scorecard, again, is a powerful way to be able to predict future results. Now, where does the scorecard fit? And so the scorecard is part of the EOS model. And where does it fit within the model? It fits really in 2 main areas. So one of the key components in the EOS model, there's 6 key components. One of them is the data component. And so the scorecard is a specific tool or discipline that is used in order to strengthen the data component. And here's how we like to say it. Are you making decisions as a leadership team or within your department or even you individually for the in your individual role for the whole company? Are you making decisions based off of facts or feelings? Are you making decisions? What should I focus on today? Are you making those decisions based off facts, facts, figures, objective information, or are you doing them based off feeling? I feel like we should do this today. Well, egos, okay? Typically, subjective emotions drive decision making, and that's what we do not want. You just go with the wind, right? Go with the flow. No, we want structure and discipline to say there is strategy and purpose behind why we're doing what we're doing. And so, if you want to get strong at the data component, you got to get a clear scorecard. The second area that the scorecard tool shows up is in the weekly level 10 meeting. And so you have a weekly level 10 meeting, and the scorecard is one of those things that is showing up in order to drive that weekly accountability. So let's see it visually. So here's the data component, and there's where the scorecard fits. This is kind of what it looks like, a company scorecard. Again, you could build this out at the leadership team level. You could build it out at the department level, each major function. So you got a marketing and sales function, you have a operations function within a company and you have a finance function. So you could have those individual departments could have a scorecard, and you, the individual employee, the leader, you could have your own scorecard. And so a measurable, again, is a weekly activity. Typically, what needs to be happening this week in order for you to be on track for a great week for your company? Who owns it? So a specific person owns each measurable. A measurable is just a number that you're accountable for. And the goal is, what's the goal? How many calls do you need to get? How many opportunities do you need to be able to capitalize on? And so you're trying to establish a number. What the scorecard is doing, it is gamifying how you do business. You're tracking things to see, am I winning or am I losing today, this week? Are we on track or off track? And so you're able to track it to see, are we having a great week? What does a great week look like for our company? It's almost like, think about the scoreboard. How do you know if your team is winning in the game? Well, you look at the scoreboard. The scorecard is an instant snapshot view of how your company's doing. And so, like I said earlier, it's going to give you 13 weeks to look back. So a company scorecard, here's an example of what it might look like. You have some different people here on the left side, and you have some different measurables, and notice you're kind of just tracking it week after week. The cool thing about this is that if you start to see that, wow, we're off track here, we're off track, I like to really show weekly calls. So you're on track, on track, on track, and you get to October, November, and for some reason, Robert is off track. What needs to happen? That needs to be addressed, and in order to get back on track. And so the whole purpose of the scorecard is it's trying to show you, are you winning as a company, as a department, you individually, are you winning or losing? How are you guys doing? If you do these activities, you'll get these results. So that's a little bit about the company scorecard and where it fits within the data component. Measurables, like I said, those are just a number. It's a number that you're tracking on a weekly basis. And the goal is to get a scorecard built at the leadership team level, and then ultimately to have the scorecard built within each major department, and you individually could have one, right? So it kind of goes to each level. So that's where it fits in terms of the EOS model, the first area. The second place that it shows up is underneath traction. And the traction component, there's rocks and then there's a meeting pulse. And so that's the second discipline or tool, is the meeting pulse, and we call it the level 10 meeting. And so here's kind of what it looks like. I'll go pretty quick. You start out with good news, and basically your leadership team, your core of leaders, get into a room and you guys share good news. This could also be within your department. After you do that, you're going to be doing your scorecard review. So you're reviewing the scorecard and you're simply saying, am I on track or off track for the scorecard? It could be, is it done or not done for that week? All right. And so you're using kind of that language of done, not done, and you're able to just report. Are we on track? Are we headed in the right direction as a company? This eliminates subjective type feelings. It's objective, yes or no. We are done or not done in terms of, I got this done. And that in the past 7 days, I was able to get my 25 phone calls. That's 5 phone calls a day. And so we are on track in terms of me being a great proactive sales rep. That's a great example. You also do a rock review in the level 10 meeting. You go over customer employee headlines. You do a to-do review, and then that's all reporting. That's what you're doing for the first about 25 minutes. You're just reporting on the business. If there's ever an issue, if anything's ever off track, if anything's not done, you just simply say drop it down. So you're not defending, explaining, exploring, trying to discuss. You're simply reporting. The whole discussion happens during the issues list, or IDS, which is 60 minutes of the meeting, and then you finish the meeting with concluding. So you start the meeting off, a level 10 meeting is the same day at the same time. It starts on time, it ends on time, and you follow the same agenda. This is the agenda you follow. You start with connecting, you go to reporting, you move to solving, and then at the end you conclude. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective was our meeting today? And you're rating it. You're trying to get to that level 10. So that's the second area that the level 10, that the scorecard shows up. It shows up in the data component, but where does it show up in terms of actually using it is in the level 10 meeting every single week. So let's just take a big step back. Why does this matter? Why does the scorecard even matter? Okay, well, here's the reality is that I want you to think about the question again. How do you make decisions? When you need to make a decision for your company, are you doing it based off of facts or are you doing it based off feelings? There's a great quote by Peter Drucker, and he says, when the facts become clear, the decision jumps out. So when the facts are clear, the decision becomes obvious. What's hard and messy is getting clear on the facts. And so Bob Beal is a great resource. He explains that, but he basically takes what Peter Drucker said and simplifies it. You got to get clear on the facts. That's what's important. And so in order to make a decision, you got to know what the facts are. That's what the scorecard does. Here's another thing. How do you measure and monitor progress? How do you know the stuff that you're doing, the activities and behaviors you're doing every week, every day, are the right behaviors and activities? Are they leading you towards increasing profit for your company and truly helping for the greater good of the company? Are they truly helping the customer or the client? How do you know if you're making progress, if you're measuring? How do you know if what you're doing is working? Okay, and how do you know what to focus on? These are just a couple questions to kind of get the juices flowing to think through. Why is the scorecard important? Now, here's another reason it's important. Why is this topic important? Well, what gets measured gets done. Don't believe me? Well, try it. Okay, if you want to start drinking water every single day and you start tracking it, you're going to be more motivated to complete it. Let's say you want to drink 5 of these are 25 ounces, 5 of these every day. Okay, do the math. That would be 125 ounces. A gallon is about 128. So you're basically almost drinking a gallon of water every day. If you start to measure it, you will most likely start to continue to do it. What gets measured gets done. That's just a fact. It's what happens in life. There is power when you have an accurate and consistent approach to predicting and tracking. And so it's effective because of this. It's proactive. You're not being reactive. You're not looking backwards. You're proactively thinking, what are the things that we need to do in order to move our company along in the right direction? Accurate and consistent tracking, it improves accountability. You know what's messy and hard is trying to hold somebody accountable and they don't even know what the standard is. They don't know what is expected of them. It's very simple. If you work at our company and you're a sales rep, your job is one of the things that you're supposed to do is to make 5 proactive phone calls every single day, Monday through Friday. And so if you're not doing that, then we got an issue. And so I can now manage much better because I'm managing to a number. I'm clear on expectations, and I promise you, the person who is on the receiving side, they want the clarity. They want to know what's expected of me. And so there's a standard, hit this number. Everybody has a number. When you measure things and you measure numbers and you're able to track the right information, it actually drives accountability in a positive way. Accurate and consistent predicting and tracking improves alignment. We're all on the same page. We know where we're going. We know if the company's off track or if it's on track. We know based on the results of these numbers in the scorecard. All right, and then here's another way to think about it, okay? Let's step back and say, what's the 10-year target for your company? You could even think individually, where do you want to be for 10 years? In the next 10 years, and then bring it down to 3 years. Well, what would need to happen in the next 3 years? Get a picture in your mind's eye of where you would need to be to accomplish the 10-year from a company standpoint, for your department, or for you as an individual leader. And then think through, okay, based on that 3-year picture, what needs to happen in this next year? 1-year plan. What needs to happen in the next 1 year, in this next year, for me to be on track, headed in the right direction for 3 years? And then you break it down and you say, okay, in the next 90 days, we call those rocks. In the next 90 days, what needs to happen to be able to be on track, headed in the right direction for the 1-year plan? Let's take it one step further. How do you know if you're on track for your rocks? You can use that scorecard. That's one of the weekly activities you can do to make sure you're on track, you're headed in the right direction. So that's one way to think about it. Let's get practical. How do you make a scorecard? Start with, well, let's establish, what does effective mean? Effective means that you're doing the right activity. And so obviously it's important to be efficient. You want to do things the right way, but you want to make sure you're also doing the right thing. So that's what effective is. Measure what matters. Measure only what matters. We have a simple saying at EOS: less is more. Do less better. Okay? So focus on what are the things that matter most. Come up with 5 to 15 of the most important activities that at a leadership team level, if you guys focused on these 5 to 15 activities, weekly or daily activities, this would show you what a great week looks like. That's how you create it. So again, imagine if you're on an island and a cabana boy walks up to you and hands you a sheet of paper. Now you have no outside communication with the world. He hands you a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper is 5 to 15 bullet points, 5 to 15 numbers that show you how your company is doing. You're on vacation, you're taking a break from your company, but you're curious, how are we doing? Are we winning? Are we headed in the right direction? Are we doing pretty good? What would be on that sheet? And so if you take this exercise serious, you actually will come up with 5 to 15 numbers that show you how our company is doing. Are we on track? Are we off track? Are we heading in the right direction? And so that's a way to make sure you're making it effective. Now, keep it simple. Start slow, fail forward. It takes about 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer, for the scorecard to get really effective. And I can speak to that with my own experience, with my own scorecard that I'm using with my EOS practice, but I've seen it happen with clients. And it's just, again, certain clients, they understand the scorecard, but it takes a while to get good at it because it's about measuring what matters most. And a lot of people think everything matters, but if everything matters, nothing matters. And so the reality is you want to try and bake it down, bring it down, clarify and simplify. What are 5 to 15 of the most important numbers that you need to know on a weekly basis at the leadership team level? And so by doing this, stay consistent. If you start failing, you start getting frustrated with it, it's not the scorecard, it's probably you. And so you're going to have to be patient with yourself, give yourself grace, fail forward, build momentum. Finally, also focus on leading indicators, not lagging. So you want to stay focused on leading indicators, not lagging. You're not looking in the past, looking backwards. There's a time and a place for that, but this is not it. The scorecard is focused on leading indicators. And then here's another idea, is to try to make it align. Some of the activities, try to make them in alignment with your rocks, your 90-day priorities. All right, let's look at some other questions to consider. What is the measurable? Clearly define it. Be simple. Clarify, simplify. As much as you can, clarify and simplify. What is this measurable trying to predict? Okay, what are you measuring? What is it trying to predict? How would you define success? Why was this measurable chosen? Take the measurable, analyze it, evaluate it. Why did we choose this? What are we trying to get out of this? How does this help us make better decisions? What's the problem with this measurable? Is there a problem with it? Okay, and then another thing to think about is core process. And so your business has 6 to 10 major core processes for how you do your business, how you run it. And so think about, how can this measurable line up? How can it create maximum alignment within one of those core processes? Or maybe there's a rock or some sort of a 90-day priority that this measurable can align with. And so if you are able to head in that direction, it's going to give you much more power in saying, this is a good scorecard. This is the right scorecard for our company. And so here are some additional next steps. If you are not using a software to be able to streamline and simplify how you use something like a scorecard to measure and track data, I highly, highly encourage you to check out 90.io. You can get a free 30-day trial with me if you want. Go to 90.io/Charlie.rhea, or you can just scan this barcode. And so it's a really simple, powerful way for you to be able to check how you're doing, and not just handwriting, but you're actually able to enter the 21st century and streamline it using a software platform. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about with 90.io. All right, so this is exactly what I'm talking about, the scorecard, using the software 90.io. So this is kind of what it looks like. And basically, I have some examples over here, but make 10 calls a day to our target market. So that would be 50 calls per week, and you can track it. So notice here, it's red if you're off track. And so if it's not done. And so that's a great way to be able to show it and be able to enter in the data. And you can just do this as it goes. And so this is kind of what it looks like. Again, it's super, super simple. It has all your areas to be able to put to-dos, issues, meetings, your rocks. So this is where it fits in terms of just the actual tool. In terms of the meeting, I wanted to show you this real quick. Let me say just start meeting. Okay, begin level 10 meeting. So up here you have a total running time. So this allows you to stay on time with your meetings. And then over here, you're actually able to track how long you've spent in each one. So if this gets more than 5 minutes, it will actually turn red. So it will show you, hey, we need to go to the next one. So we go to the scorecard, right? That's the second part of the meeting. And so now you can literally read each one. Charlie.rhea, 10 calls a day to our target market. Okay, and so let's say I'm reporting on March 18th, I would say not done. Okay, or I could say off track, it'd be 45. And so somebody would say, hey, drop it down. You could say create an issue, and we're going to drop that down and be able to put that down as an issue. So it's a really simple tool. Really have been impressed with it, and I know you guys will like it. Just try it for 30 days, see if it works. And if you do that, trust me, it will help you streamline and simplify the tools for EOS. So let's go to final next steps here. Again, if you need help with anything, please just reach out to me. I would love to be a resource to help you. And so you can do that by connecting with me through phone call. You can send me an email. If you want to go to my microsite and schedule it there, that's fine. But again, guys, I really appreciate your time today. The goal really is for you to walk away from this and to do this. Go ahead and take a stab at it. Take a first cut. Create a leadership team, a company scorecard. Try it for a few weeks and refine it. Okay. If if your company already has a scorecard, but you want to do one for your department, then do that. Or if you want to do your own personal scorecard, you can do that as well. I really appreciate y'all's time. Thank you again for being here. I hope it was helpful. This was the scorecard with leadership development time. And please reach out if you have any questions or need help on anything. May God bless you. Have a great one.